What is up? What is up? What is up? Good evening, everybody. It is another edition of the Shark Cove, the sharpest show in esports. That's difficult to say, but I think I nailed it. It was. I haven't been drinking, so was able to do that. Now, look, I know it's been a little bit of a hiatus. We've hit a kind of a lull where there's not a ton going on, especially from the DFS side. But we do have a slate coming up. We did come back, and I wanted to kind of make up for this hiatus and put together a fantastic grouping of guests. First and foremost, one of the regulars, you know him well. His name's Russian Moose Bear. I don't know what to call him half the time. How you doing, Moose?
Oh, hello. I just got off a 16-hour flight and I'm here. So
Awesome.
We're here. Yes. Hi, guys. It was a hell of a trip, but I'm back now, so I'm here to take everybody's money for tomorrow's slate.
All right, and it is a good one.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I just took a peek. It looks good. So looking forward to having the other guests tell me what not to play so I can play it.
All right. Well, the next guest is a man you guys all are familiar with. He's been on the show a couple of times. He's taken down a GPP or two and kind of advises us on the bets. He's a measured guy. It is Gelati.
As he's fixing his camera.
What
wonderful timing. How's it going, everybody?
Hello. Welcome to the show.
All right. Cove. And the last guest
shark fins, dude.
His first visit to the Shark Cove. And it wouldn't be the sharpest show in esports if I didn't have all these sharp people. But it's the League of Items. It's Michael.
Hey.
How you doing?
Is my mic on?
It is.
Yes. Great. Perfect. I remember during the beginning of COVID, I was at one point supposed to make some kind of content with Esports Moose Russian Bear guy, but it never happened. But we're here now.
We're finally doing it.
Time is a flat circle.
2 years later, we're finally doing it.
Time is a flat circle. Just watching that the other day.
Man.
Still COVID times, so it's crazy.
It sure is. Well, hey, we've got some, look, so last week, I think most of us were pretty excited, at least I was, and I know a lot of people were, when the LPL and LCK went on their Lunar New Year break, and, DraftKings decided to inexplicably run the largest contest that they ever have outside of that COVID time for the LEC. Inevitably, they didn't fill, as we all knew that they weren't, and then they reacted by just drastically slashing them the next day to a point where I didn't even actually get into any of the GPPs the next day. By the time I woke up, all I could play was winner take alls and cash, and that worked out well for me, actually. But they've somehow learned. Maybe it's the several emails that I've sent. Maybe it's talking to the rep. I'm sure other people have. It's like, look,
maybe it's Gugs.
It could be Gugs. Like, it's not. I almost asked somebody at DraftKings yesterday, like, do you know who Gugs is?
Yeah. How often have you been harassed by Gugs?
But like, so instead of doing, this 3 max, 333 triumphant warrior, 100, like, just that's not going to fill. It almost did, but not doing also, on the other hand, a 180 single entry 32 person that's going to fill super fast and doesn't make any sense. They've got a 2 max 333 70 person tournament, which I don't know if it's going to fill or not, but I'm going to put my 2 entries in. I'm pretty excited. I think this is kind of the sweet spot, at least for the LEC, where they need to be targeting this kind of like 5K tournament. So not just going to be a cash guy today. It's going to go back to the GPPs. So Moose, I know you just got off a plane, so I'm just going to kind of skip you on your initial thoughts on the slate. But Michael, you're the new guy here. Let's go ahead and open up the slate and take a look and start it from just kind of a betting standpoint.
Sure. So the way that I generally do things is I just try to get the implied win rates into my sheet. So do you want to do game by game and give takes, or do you want to go entire slate?
We can just go game by game, and if you actually want to share your screen, we can put the sheet up on there, or we can just do it off of this, either or.
I think we're fine with what you got.
Okay.
So people who are familiar with my YouTube channel and watch the videos that I put out pretty regularly know that the most important thing for me is talent and like my tier list for team rankings, because I don't really think that you would need to have an underdog with a really good matchup, like like a playstyle mismatch, in order for me to have a lot of interest in betting them. So Misfits against Vitality isn't really a spot that I'm going to look at, because even if Misfits wins, I don't think they win often enough for it to matter. Like the money line is 64%. That would be something that I actually bet Vitality on, because Misfits is not, I think, a 40% dog, and that's what they have them listed at. I have them in my C tier. We were talking about this before we went live, like the different tiers within the LEC. I think that Gelati kind of floated the idea of Rogue being in their own tier. I think it's more, and this is where my bias comes in, I'm aware. I think that Rogue and Vitality are the two most talented teams. Obviously, from a performance perspective, Vitality has not looked great. At least they didn't look great in the first week. But I think it's Rogue and Vitality. Then I think it's Fnatic. Then it's Mad and G2. And then it's Misfits. I'm just not a big believer in the Misfits team and like the organization in general. I think that Hyrit's good but not great. Schlatan is good but not great. Vetio is good but not great. And then Neon's probably not good. Like even from like an entire Western perspective with the LEC and the LCS, I still don't think Neon's that good. And then Mursa is a question mark. I just don't have enough knowledge about the guy yet. So I think for me, it would definitely be Vitality. They'd be a team I definitely want for DraftKings and potentially just a bet on them straight up. And people in my Discord are already talking about hammering Misfits, because we have all lost so much money on Misfits for the past couple of years that we're finally getting paid off by either betting against them or just randomly hitting with them. I think his name is MU Warrior, JB in Discord. He won like 10 grand the other day on Misfits. So they're finally paying off, which is great for us, because it was miserable ever since that first gigantic LEC tournament. I was in first place. I would have either come in first or second in like that 50K to first, and Misfits threw out the Baron to Fnatic or something. That is like the most tragic DFS experience of my life, probably. And they did it back-to-back years. But that's enough on that one, I think. I'm definitely on Vitality.
Misfits throwing a Baron. Who would have thought? Now, two things. I'm going to let Gelati respond here, because I think he has a different view on the Misfits overall. But I will show, I posted this in the Discord earlier this week, that the Vitality Misfits line, they had it listed as a best of 5. It took them till today to actually cancel all my bets. But apparently it's still held over. Like, if you want to get Vitality on map 1, you can get some better odds at minus 175 instead of the minus 190 for the series price. So, yeah, I mean, this is probably the more advantageous bet. I suspect that they'll let that ride and not cancel it. But, Gelati, fire back on the Misfits.
So,
I mean, I want to say first, I'd say Vethio, I think, is very good. Go ahead.
I think they're kind of a weird team to evaluate, because all the traditional, I've been calling them like a model breaker team, because if you look at all the ways that, at least for me personally, you look at all the ways that you measure a team, they do a lot of things. Last year in particular, they do a lot of things that you was like, okay, this team's getting lucky. There's no way they're this good. And I was actually, early on last year, I was backing them. I was like, this team's underrated. And then eventually it swung way too far in the other direction. I was like, whoa, let's cool the Jets here, guys. And I went the other way. This year, their underlyings so far, again, small sample, have actually looked better, but the style hasn't really changed. So I think I'm open to the possibility that this team could actually be pretty good, which is why I include them. So Mike, you said you put them like kind of below the mid tier, right? Okay, so we're like half a tier off. Like, I kind of lump all those mid tier teams together. I think they could be like a lot better, but I generally agree with you that it's Rogue and Vitality and Fnatic, and then G2 Mad, Misfits, and then the Red. And what do you put Excel? I forget what you said.
I didn't mention them. They are in the bottom. I think that all of those are. Or I have BDS and XL next to each other, and then I have SK and Astralis next to each other.
Okay, so we're really not that far off. Like, we're generally the same. I'm just like a slightly more bullish on Misfits, which is I'm not. I don't think they're going to win the league or anything like that. But like for this match in particular, I did back Misfits. but I do think the number is pretty close. Like I can see a case for either side here.
Yeah. The one thing I would say for Misfits, and the reason why I bet on them so often last year is because I did like a lot of things about their roster last year, and I liked the talent overall. Vetio was one of the things that I think held back the team last year, and I know that in their wins he had good performances and good KDAs, which people like to see, but it was really those other matchups that people expected them to lose that I thought they had chances in, that I like, even though they lost and that was the expected result, it did more damage to my opinion of him, because that was the opportunity to kind of get into that next tier.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like I can totally see. They play a high variance way to play the game. Like they play almost like a lot of these mid-table LPL teams, where they're just like relentlessly aggressive a lot of the time, and a lot of it stems from the mid jungle duo. And I got to give him credit. He's good at that style. Like they are good at that, but inherently they're going to look bad in a lot of losses too. So like I'm going to have a hard time ever putting them in like a top tier, but I do like them as like I call them a punch up underdog, right? Like, so
if they were a bigger underdog, I would like it more. I
can understand that.
Like, do you see their mid jungle winning hard enough, or their bot lane winning hard enough to like?
Maybe. I mean, the thing is, like, we saw a really bad week from Vitality and then a really good week, so it's still pretty early.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's going to settle somewhere in the middle or if it's going to settle more toward what we saw last week. I tend to think it's probably going to be more toward last week, but I tend not to look at things through individual lane advantages unless there's a specific matchup that we can point to.
Yeah.
And I could totally see that perspective too. Like I said, I could see going either side of this. I wouldn't play 190. If you can get like 170 or better, I could see, a case for that. But I wouldn't lay 190 on Vitality. It's probably just a pass at that price.
Yeah, and I the bigger question I have for the Misfits, I don't think that VTO is a problem. I think that the bot lane as a whole, I agree that Neon's probably below average. I don't think Merce is that good. I don't understand the signing, where he, like, his history in the ERLs, just I don't know what they saw in him. I'm sure that there were better, available supports, but he hasn't done anything necessarily to wow me. And to be fair, he hasn't done much of anything to discourage me either. He's just been kind of blah. But that paired with Neon, it is going to have some problems against certain bot lanes. I don't know if Vitality's bot lane is the one right now, the way that they're playing. And these two teams, I don't know, like for a DFS perspective, I have this as the under. I mean, July, I don't know where you have this on. I kind of briefly looked at it, but I have it around 24. So I'm probably going to hammer that under right there. And not be surprised if it goes for like 32 or something. But
what did I project? It's like I'm actually way higher, like projection wise, 25-4, but it had frequency to the under, like tail to the under. So I'd lean under. I don't think I could bet a total in this game. I don't think. Let me see. What did I do? No, I just played Misfits money line, but I got a good number on it. So yeah.
I guess the last thing I'd say, I agree that, like, I don't look at all these individual matchups on their own and then try to see like who won more matchups. But I think that if they play to the play styles that we think are their best, I think that like Alfari against Tyrant, I think that Misfits might be in a spot where they want to go like carry against carry. So that would be high variance, because in like a perfect world where Misfits is good enough to compete in the LEC, Tyrant needs to be able to carry games against the really good top laners. Mm-hmm. So I would think that they would maybe lean towards a carry champion. Schlatan against Selfmade, I think that Selfmade is most likely just a better player now and in the future. Like I like Selfmade a lot. But again, if Schlatan wants to be competitive in this kind of league, I think that that's another spot you kind of have to take a swing at Vitality, play a high variance style. And then same thing in the mid lane, Perks and Vetio. Would you get a like Victor Corky trade? I think probably not. I think Vitality is going to do a good job at staying away from that pretty consistently. And then the bot lane is really the big problem for me, because I want a bot lane that's going to have a higher variant style to punish somebody like Vitality, because that's really where their weak spot is.
Yeah, so, I'd agree there.
So like they're not going to do that. I'd be shocked if they did that in the bot lane. you're much more likely to get like a Jinx against an Aphelios in the bot lane because they both think, oh, well, we have a scaling AD carry. And like everybody just plays that kind of out where if you're both playing to it and the other team has a better team, then it's not really an out for you. Like, obviously, any game, the underdog always has a chance in League of Legends to win a best of one. But just the way that these two teams line up, I hate it from the Misfit side. Like it just seems so tough to feel good about any of those spots.
Well, and even if Vitality wins, though, from like a DFS standpoint, I have them pegged around like 15 to 17 kills. They're priced at such a way that like they're, aside from Alfari, who's up there in price comparative to other top laners. Selfmade's the one that's pretty expensive. The rest of these guys are super cheap. They're going to be played a lot. They're probably going to be popular in cash. Just guessing. I might be wrong there. So I don't know. I feel pretty good about kind of fading them or being pretty light on them. So Moose, do you have anything to add on Vitality Misfits? I know that LEC is not always a region that you're awake for.
I don't know. I feel like you can debate as much as you want in this region, but it just feels like Vitality is going to take this. But this is probably one of the two closest matches of the slate, so you have to play it anyway.
I think you can kind of avoid it though from a DFS standpoint if you wanted to, and just hope. Like there are a couple other spots that are. I don't know if they're better, but like we'll get to it. But I think like you always almost have to include whatever game the Mad Lions are involved in, one side or the other. You just so you can avoid this. But this game right here, if you wanted to play like. The Mad Lions are super cheap, but I guess if you wanted to play FNC, I don't know how these two teams compare or stack together, but that might be something that you kind of have to do. This might be the salary saver.
Do we think this is going to be like this highest or second highest ownership matchup? Like somebody in this matchup or both sides?
Which one? The Vitality one?
Vitality Misfits, yeah.
No.
Okay. No. All right. Well, I was gonna say if yeah, I don't know. If you're just trying to way, who do you guys have? Who do you think is going to be the highest? Like, what's going to be? We didn't get through all the matches yet, but just like guts, like right off the bat, like gut take.
Rogue
to be the highest owned.
I think that G2 would probably be pretty highly owned, and I think that SK is going to be over owned because of matchup.
I could see that. I was just curious. I didn't know if there was like something that to other people was clearly sticking out on this slate, but I kind of I see this as a pretty balanced. Like you can kind of do whatever on this slate, right?
Yeah. When you get these big matchups between like Mad and Fnatic, it's most likely going to be a high scoring game, and it's most likely going to be extremely highly owned. So it's just like whenever that happens, I try to get into my sheet the ones that are like borderline. Almost never used kind of combinations of teams. Those are the only ones I can justify playing if I'm playing Mad Lions or Fnatic, because everything else is going to be owned, like duplicated 15, 20 times.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I'm staying the hell away from that matchup at least in big tournaments. I could see maybe playing it in cash or something. That's got a lot of downside for me. A lot of low floor spots, but yeah, sure. I'm betting the under in that match, even though the total, like mostly just because the total's higher. But like, I don't see that. I think a lot of people are going to look at this, and especially people that are doing like averages or using mean in their projections. Like people forget that Mad SK as well. Mad and SK played that stupid 53 kill game, and we only have a 7-game sample. So like,
yeah,
if people aren't throwing that out or like reducing weight on that. Keep in mind that that's going to inflate things a lot because the sample's still small enough. So, like,
well, when I do my projections right now, like I almost have like stock percentages in for some of the equations for SK and Astralis because Astralis have no wins, and I really don't think SK doesn't have a win. Really, like not one that you can quantify and extrapolate out.
Exactly.
So.
Same with Rogue. Like we don't know what Rogue's going to look like in a loss. Maybe they're going to just be insanely bloody losers whenever they drop a match. So like. Especially early on, but like I think a lot of people that are lazy about this kind of stuff are going to be targeting Mad and Fnatic. Plus, you have like name brand value with those two teams, right? They are the bloody teams in the LEC, right?
And Matt
kinda
is
think people
super,
are gonna be-
super cheap.
And I think people are going to be all over that. So I don't want anything to do with it in GPPs personally, like bigger field tournaments. Like, would you play that either side of that matchup in any contest that's got like more than 300 people?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, never mind.
It just depends on like.
Let's
I mean, you can take that stance, but it just feels like in the LEC, it's always Mad. It
That's
used to be like
true.
FNC and G2, but like Mad's in that equation
know.
too. So, but I see what you're saying. It can be
That's
super
fair
low.
enough. I was just
so.
curious on your guys' thoughts on it.
Vince,
Well, I
you're
think-
talking
I
to
think-
a bunch of degenerate apes, okay? Like, we're all just apes here. We're gonna
Yeah.
ape in.
Yeah, I think that once we talk through the matchup, I think I would know where I stand on that one better, because I'm not 100% sure what I think that the game script is going to look like based on the lane by lane matchup. So I'd have to see that first.
Well, let's get into a banger. Let's get into the next game. We've got SK and Astralis. Hopefully, maybe one of these teams will have some quantifiable data after this game that we can, put into in-win projections. Before we get into that, did you guys think that when Stixay decided to retire and go into coaching, that he thought he would be grinding out academy and proving ground games? Because I mean, like, this Golden Guardians team has played like a ridiculous amount of games, and I don't know if I wanted to step away and do what Stixay should have done years ago. I don't know if like grinding academy is where I would have thought myself would be.
Is he getting a paycheck?
I think
Well, he was going to be their coach, and now he's had to step in. So
It's okay.
so. He was going to be the coach for who? He was going to be the coach for academy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Correct.
So I think that it sucks that he has to play the games. I think that if he was able to coach all of these games all the time, and if he like builds up a rapport with his players, because he can be like, listen, I'm still just as good, if not better than you. Then that could theoretically be good. But if he was like coaching all these games, I feel like they'd be like fast tracking him to take over the LCS spot eventually. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what they should be trying to do, is get him into as many drafts as possible where he makes all the decisions and then see how it plays out. And then if he gets like twice as much experience in these like quote unquote games that matter, then it could just make his runway to like being a full-time head coach in the LCS like quicker. That would be cool.
sure. Yeah,
But I
mean,
think
they
he's going to be a
just-
horrible coach. I think that he's the kind of guy that seems like he's going to be a horrible coach and has bad opinions on League of Legends, because his teams were so consistently bad. If you had a big enough voice and people respected you, your team wouldn't have looked like that long term. Because he was never the least talented player.
Well,
It's just
I'll
his
tell you,
team
his Golden Guardians Academy team lost to the 100 Thieves next team, not the Academy team, the team below that, and they
But
got
the 100
just-
Thieves next team is pretty good, man.
They got rocked. Like
It's not like this is a pickup, like, oh, a bunch of dudes from solo queue kind of team. Like they're at a facility and they got coaches, and
yeah, I mean,
I
it's
get
still,
what you're
like-
saying, but
Yeah,
it's not a
still,
good
like-
look. It's not a good look, but
I mean, you got to the finals of this tournament. You should have, but then you get 3-0'd, like, and it just none of the games were close. But all right, so SK Astralis, Bear, let's Moose, whatever. Ape, start us off with this one. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
I don't think SK are a good team.
I don't think Astralis are a good team. Holy shit, we did it, guys! That's it. we made it. We made it.
No, we had this exact thing happen in the Discord, and it was exactly how Emrick lost $200 to me. It was like, he literally wrote like, I think AL is gonna win this game, and I wrote like, I think AL is gonna lose this game.
Savages in my town. Good point on that one.
Yes,
Dude, why are they so addicted to this lethality Zaya? Like, what? Like, I understand. Like, they just love it. I guess. I don't know. Sometimes teams just like certain things. But...
Mike, do you have a take on this game? You like anybody here?
If I was going lane by lane, I think Genax against White Knight. I think White Knight is better than Genax. Zenzara against Gilius. I think that Gilius is the better player, but Gilius is also going to is most likely going to opt into the carry side of things. So if Zanzara plays like a tank that can outscale, like I don't think SK is good enough to punish Zanzara's champion pool, and that's really the biggest limitation of Astralis.
Who's the best player in this game? With both
Best
teams.
player in this game.
Is it
Probably-
Zanzara?
Probably Kabe. No, it's definitely not
Kabe.
Zanzara. Zanzara is probably the worst player in this game.
Kabe. I can see. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
Yeah, I think Kabe is probably the best. White Knight might be the best too. Like I think White Knight's a legit player, and I think that Kabe is like your classic. Oh, I'm gonna scale AD carry. So I generally don't like that style of AD carry, but against a team like SK, they're going to let you
It just
get there.
works. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
they're
just
gonna let you
works.
get
Like
there.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I kind of like Syracuse. I think, I mean, maybe not the best right now, right here today, but
White
Yeah.
Knight's gotten a lot better over his career too. He had a kind of a rough go his first time around, and he's
Yeah.
gotten steadily better. Like I don't think he's great or anything like that, but he's gotten pretty good.
I mean, throughout COVID, he kind of proved that he could be a carry player. Like in a good draft against a team of a similar talent level, he can put up a good performance. So
yeah, he shows up sometimes, but he's just not consistent, and that's, I mean, a byproduct of the team that's around him too, I think. But it could be the team's byproduct is because of him. I mean, it's just they're all very inconsistent. But I mean, this game,
So
I don't know. It could be one of those really high scoring or just one of those absolute like 8-4 type of games.
Here's how I'd frame this. Like, make the case for SK minus 155. From a betting perspective, make the case for it. I don't think you can.
Charlotte hasn't won a game.
Like
they have not.
I like for me, this is like if you're gonna play this match, it's Astralis or just don't play it or play.
The line is correct though. Like Astralis has not won a game.
Yeah,
like the line is right. Like you can't fault them for making that line. But yeah, I mean,
both these teams are bad.
these
I
are
don't want
so
to do with this on the sides. No way.
There was a small contingent of SK truthers at the beginning of the season, especially in best ball. And I didn't see it. And it, after they beat Mad, it was like, all right, man, maybe these people are kind of like onto something, but they've come back crashing down to earth and just, oh man.
Can we move on to a more interesting matchup?
Let's
All right. Yeah.
Well, so real quick.
I'm calling the shot on
quick,
Astralis though. I think Astralis is definitely the bet. I think they're the better side for DraftKings and for betting. So
Yeah.
I'll probably have a couple of Astralis lineups tomorrow.
I played the over 24.5 here, but I didn't play a side. I could see the case for just dog or nothing. I'm with that. Like these teams are both pretty equally bad to me. Like
yeah.
Take the coin flip, take the plus odds.
I think we're gonna be the only 4 people watching this game.
Yeah, it's possible. Like, what's the any angle for DK on this one? Like, keep in mind that SK Mad game, the goofy 53 kill bonanza from week 1.
If you're a live underdog, you need to be played on DraftKings at least as a secondary stack.
I agree.
So because it'll fit in the higher upside performance from somebody like Rogue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but their pricing is like not even that good.
Yeah, but there's not. That means there's gonna be like nobody on them, right?
It'll fit. It's just it'll fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could go with both of them. I mean, I have when I look at both of these teams, in terms of like how they project out, Syracuse actually projects really, really well. I mean, I think the rest of the team projects pretty bad. So there are some definite spots that you can attack this as a small stack, kind of with like a mid captain. If you wanted to go with like a Larson captain, if you wanted to go with a VTO captain, if you wanted to go perks or caps, I think that's kind of the perfect synergy to go along with Astralis. When it comes to SK, I'm not sure that there's a perfect synergy to go with, but that's kind of my take on that.
Word.
Let's go to the next game. This one we all believe is going to be the highest owned in terms of Rogue. Specifically, it's going to be everywhere in cash. You've got Rogue at minus 460 against Excel plus 305, an 8.5 kill spread at a 24.5 total. Lottie, why don't you kick us off on this one?
I'm about as big a Rogue bull as there is, and I played Excel on this. The number's just too big. That's the way I look at it. I played kill spread and then a little bit on the money line.
It wasn't a large bet on the money line, though.
Yeah, I'm the biggest Rogue stand there is, and I just think this number's too big for a best of one. Like I don't think Excel's that bad.
No, and I don't think that any time that when you get like plus 250 or higher, I almost think it's just unless it's
as long as the team is competent. As long as the team is competent,
sure,
right? Like I don't think Excel are that good, but I do think Excel is like a competent team.
They can come out and steal a game from just
Yeah.
about anybody in the right circumstances, even if that's going to only happen 1 out of 10 times. This could be it. I don't know if it's 1 out of 10 times, but
like I don't know if you guys agree. Like I know, like Mike, you had them like like lower than I did. So like, do you still think this is too big a number, or is?
For a team like XL, I don't like their play style. I think they're too slow. That's kind of one of the biggest concerns I have from a DraftKings perspective. With Mickey X coming in, I think that the reason why you'd want to go for an under on the kill total or taking XL with the spread is because it might be a spot where XL is playing towards the outscaling advantage and thinking that Patrick is going to do fine against comp in a late game scenario. So I could see it being like within 5 kills or like an ace ends the game, Rogue finishes them off. Like I think it could be surprisingly close from a kill score perspective, probably not from a gold score perspective.
Yeah.
And then I guess you get to the question of like, do you want to bet on either team? Do I want to bet on XL against Rogue in a low kill score game? Probably not. I do think that lane by lane is interesting. Finn, I was the biggest critic of Finn when he came over to the LCS. I thought that was one of like the worst possible signings of all time. The amount of money that they paid for him was hilarious. Everyone knew it was wrong the instant that they did it, and they kind of just had to live with it. I also think that Nuke Duck is probably one of the worst mid laners in the league, and I think that a lot of people disagree with me on that, but Nuke Duck does not have the upside that you need in a mid laner to win a league or like to win playoff matches. That's really my big problem with a player like Nuke Duck.
We're not talking about winning playoff matches though. We're talking about winning this match. That's
That's
the way
I'm just trying to justify my opinion of Nuke Duck, not my opinion of Nuke Duck in this matchup. And that's also why I was critical of XL with like them dropping Advienne for Mickey. It's like, what are you trying to win right now? You're not going to do anything this year. Just let Advienne get more time. He'll hopefully turn into something good. What they should have done is bench Nuke Duck. Bench Nuke Duck, put in Mickey.
Wait, Spell saying I forgot Rogue was good? Get out of here. I've been saying they're good for 2 years. I don't want to hear it. That's funny.
Yeah. So what's the like overarching question for you on this match? You want to bet XL because you think the number is good enough to bet XL?
I just think the number's a little too big. Like I really like the kill spread. 8.5's covered. It's 7-1 against the spread of 8.5 or more on the kill spread this year.
I would be much more likely to bet XL on the kill spread than on an outright.
Yeah, I think I did to win 1 and then a quarter on the money line, which is how I would play something like this. It's a big number. Well, that's all.
And XL actually has a pretty decent mid lane prospect down in the on their JDXL team. Yeah. He's Minez, or I don't know how to say his name, but he was on Gen G Academy. He had a really, really cringy kind of interview when like he just absolutely did not understand what the guy was saying. He's like, "How trash is Arya?" And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, and he tried to answer it and ask it again, and he's just like,
"You got me, man.
I have no idea what you're saying."
He's like, clearly I don't speak that much.
I'll try and find it and post it in the Discord. It was just like me. I'm like, come on, let's just move this along. But I think I'm with you guys. Like, I was a big XL backer once they made the move to Marcoon and Advienne. I thought that they just barely, they robbed me of a lot of coins. I won the first GPP when they were there. And then I just chased it, and it's just they've let me down too many times. I'm back to hating XL. I do think you can bet them at plus 305, small stake, and this is an ultimate leverage spot to play in, in DFS. I think you could even get some. I might even have some XL Astralis stacks. I might do that, like one or two. I think that could be.
Shit, I might do that.
Not playing that in the 333, but
sure you're not. Yeah, sure you're not.
It's a $15. Now that's something Moose would play. That's something that he would play.
Why nobody else would play it? Why wouldn't I?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Somebody
That's
else will
it.
play that garbage. That of course.
Hey,
The last
listen,
thing
one
I'd
man,
say
one man's
about
trash.
the
Go
last
ahead,
thing
Mike.
I'd say about Rogue for DraftKings specifically is you can get combinations of them with Astralis and Mad Lions. You cannot get them with SK or any of the other favorites. So a lot of it's going to be yeah,
I think
Astralis
there's going to
and
be
Mad.
Dude, Rogue Mad is going to be like the duped lineup, right?
Yeah, Rogue Astralis, you can't do the basic 80 carry stacks with them, like the 4-3s, but you can do 3-4s, which are pretty popular. And then also the 4-3s where you incorporate the team slot, and then you kind of have to get lucky with like how the kill participation lines up. But those will be probably too popular even. Like, right? I don't think you can really justify playing Rogue as your primary stack then, especially with the matchup.
I think your most popular stack is just kind of this one. I'll bring it up on screen here. Is this to me gives you all the pieces that you want.
Yeah, that's just going to be duped 15 million times, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get Comp, you get Larson.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Why would? Oh wait, let me bring up Mad. Yeah, so with Mad, okay, so I guess they have jungle projections higher. I mean, I still think that I'd rather have double 80 carry.
Same.
I just wouldn't. I think that Rogue's upside in this matchup is limited. Like, I think that I'd probably want to fade Rogue as my primary stack.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm just this is what's going to be popular and going to be popular in cash. I agree. I think the most likely scenario that we see in this game in terms of how it like turns out is like one of these Rogue games that we've seen so far, and these are kind of what their games have looked like. Somewhere, I find it to be closer to one of those games than like the game against Mad. That like this is going to be just that classic Rogue is just like how much are they going to push back? How much is Excel? And their early game has been their strength. So if they get rolled in the early game, the Excel's early game is the only thing that's kept them in the games long enough for them to throw it late. In these team fights, like but what if that's not there? Like, are they? I mean, are we going to see a Herald dancing? Like this game, I think is going to be under 30, probably like a 26-minute just romp by Rogue, and that's just not going to give you a lot of fantasy points, not at that price.
Can you go to XL's?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's going to look like their game against Mad or look like their game against Misfits.
17 to 9, 17 to 6, whatever, something like that. Maybe less, probably 14 to 8. I don't know.
And I mean, I just feel like that's like what a lot of the games in the LEC have been.
What a lot of the games worldwide have been.
Yeah. What was the spread number? You said 8?
8.5.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. I personally, I think most of the time, like if you told me inside or outside of 5, like what did the number say about that? Is it within like 5.5? Do most games end with it like being under 5.5?
Let me pull it up for you real quick. 5.5 is there. 5.5 and 6 are the most frequent, or 5.5 and 6.5 are the. Let me see.
I mean, I can see this game too being like a 16 to 4. It's just like where they just get absolutely nothing done, but.
That's the tough one for me. It's tough for me to see how XL gets aced that like 2 times.
Yeah, they just don't play that way.
Yeah, that's something that I haven't really spent any time looking into with like number of aces and the spread. Like how likely is a team to get aced, and how does that impact the spread?
Yeah,
or like are teams that contest Dragon Soul or are teams that contest the first Rift Herald more likely to have a spread that's over 6.5, because those are the gigantic opportunities that we want.
Yeah. Well, typically it's derived from just the total and the money line. That's the way the books do it, but there's definitely advantages to be had there for sure. Like I said earlier, like if anything 8.5 or greater, like all but one have hit this season in the LEC, and they're hitting at a huge clip in every league, including the LPL, where teams tend to be a lot more, I don't want to call them reckless, but like favorite kill spreads tend to do a lot better in the LPL because there's a big disparity between the bottom and the top in that league. So even in the LPL, it hasn't been doing quite as well as it usually does. So
sure,
it's just the nature of the game right now. Like when everyone's playing like 2 or 2.5 core scaling, Like most teams are doing that just as like a default right now, and that seems to be what people think is the best thing to do. If everyone's doing that, it's all about just like minimizing losses, scaling, and then just trying to make it a coin flip later in the game, especially if you're an underdog, right? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of these like upset wins have come not from like a team steamrolling someone early, but it's like, okay, like the team that's ahead just screws up the lead somehow and throws it, right? So you're seeing a lot of just like lower. I mean, totals have kept coming down and down and down over the course of the season. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big problem, and it's ruining the experience, honestly.
thanks, Chair. Always
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, if nothing else, a lot of the games this week in the ERLs have been a lot bloodier than they had been, in previous weeks. So I don't know if that's a change that we're going to see. I don't think that it's likely. A lot of that stuff doesn't necessarily kind of transfer over. But I think that this one's pretty cut and dry. We're kind of good on this. Let's move on to the next one. I think this one has, an opportunity to go overlooked to some extent. G2 and BDS. We saw BDS actually get a couple wins and look semi-okay. Nuclear Int looked like he was going to have a monster game, and then the next thing you know, the game was over and they had like 8 kills. So not a whole lot of data we can even derive from that game. Going against G2, which has been like low-key one of the better targets for fantasy. Not that that's any type of surprise, but with some of the pieces with their last season, all these different things like Mad Lions, Rogue, some of these other teams had a little bit more hype behind them. G2 had the COVID week, but they've had some massive 22 assists for Targamas before it was even on stream. Gugs told us all about it. So this is a game that I think will be popular in cash too, especially if you don't feel comfortable with the way that your road builds are. As a minus 275 favorite, they're the next biggest on the slate.
G2
like
looked
this
good
game.
last week. Do you guys feel the same way? I thought G2 looked pretty good last week.
Yeah, I think they did.
This team's coming together a little faster than I thought they would, but
Yeah, I think that a lot of that stems from people not giving Broken Blade enough credit, because it, like, specifically in this kind of meta where there are so many late game carries and Jinx and Aphelios getting traded all the time, the bot lane is not going to be able to create an environment that they get completely blown out most of the time, which would allow somebody like Broken Blade to have more of an impact on the game.
Yeah.
I think
he
that's
thrives. He's so good at that kind of thing.
Yeah, when you guys were talking about the kill scores coming down, I bet, and like I kind of wanted to say this regardless, I think that you guys are definitely better at looking at the statistics behind League of Legends betting. I don't really look at that a lot. I just try to pick sides, and I think that the picking the right sides will get you into the right spots often enough to be profitable. But I know that the prop stuff, you can't just pick the sides. You need to understand those underlying statistics a lot better. But at the same time, I feel like if you're too focused on the statistics side of things, you might miss out on something like the champions in a meta having a large impact on the kill score, the kill spread, the likelihood of it going over under the kill total. Because I think that when it's a Aphelios Jinx, you have to put yourself in the mindset of the player. Like, if I'm a Jinx player and I just lost lane against an Aphelios, am I going to fight that Aphelios within the next 10 minutes before I know that I can do damage to the tanks, or I know I can do damage to the engaging champions? The answer is no. Like, you cannot do it because you're going to feel so weak and your tanks are not going to be able to deal with the damage of like an Aphelios that's ahead. So then you're necessarily going to give up dragons. You're going to try to trade a dragon for a tower. You're going to try to not team fight around these big objectives without getting a pick. So the kill scores are out of necessity come down.
Yeah, it totally makes sense, right? Like when you're playing the, like, you can play a scaling game. When you're playing, like, right now, it's like the hardcore scaling game. Like, we are going super late, like 3-4 items late, right? In a lot of games. All your job is, as the hyper carries, is to minimize losses and protect your, like, when you're playing this kind of thing, all your job is to minimize losses, protect your hyper carries. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? Funnel all the gold into them, avoid conflict that isn't necessary. And that's the optimal way to play the style. It's kind of boring to watch for a lot of people, but that is what you're supposed to do. So it makes a lot of sense that the totals are down, but Yeah, I don't know where we're going with this, but I
Well-
totally agree with you.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, some of the, that is some of the things that we like when you're looking at some of these live drafts too. And I don't know when the LEC is going to be back. LFL just went back to live. It was fantastic. When you see some of these drafts that are just oriented, and most of them are, you can even live bet some of those things and get some pretty attractive lines because you just know that this is going to be a 35-minute game, and the first 15 minutes are probably going to net like 1 or 2 kills. Where it goes from there is anybody's guess. It could be a banger, but it could be what we've seen with these, 16-8 games and 14-13, and a lot of these different things that have, brought us under this 26, under 23, under 24. Hell, I think some of the LCK games are seeing lines of like 21.5 at this point.
Yep.
What's the key number for over under?
Pull this up right now.
Because while you look that up, I think that if you were looking for opportunities to live bet on totals, I bet what you want to look for is stylistic differences between the AD carry champion. So if you have a late game hyper carry like a Felios or Jinx up against a utility AD carry or a Ziggs or something like that, just going through the LEC from what I've seen in here, it looks like those produce the best ones. So obviously small sample size, but if you look at what was the gigantic one? It was a Jhin against a Jinx, 36. A Felios against Ziggs, 29. Jinx against Azaya, 32. I think those are where you're going to get it. I think a Felios against Jinx is not really great in general. Maybe Caitlyn's are bad in general because she has to hard win earlier. She just isn't going to do anything.
Well, even with Caitlyn, it's like she hard pushes and then she just leaves lane and takes towers elsewhere. So it's that's not conducive to that kind of thing either. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. A lot of places don't offer live totals. They just switch the sides for live, but there are some places that do, and that's definitely an angle you can attack for sure. Where are we at on this one? I'm kind of curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this because I played just the kill spread on this, but do you guys think BDS last weekend was just that they were beating up on bad teams?
Yes and no. I think let me just go lane by lane quick then. So Broken Blade against Adam. Adam is definitely good enough to be Broken Blade. If you had Adam on Fnatic right now, everybody would say Adam is better than Broken Blade, and then they'd play against each other, and then Fnatic would win, and everyone would be like, "Oh, see, I told you, he's so much better." Even though it's just a talent discrepancy between what Broken Blade was dealing with last year. Jankos against Syncroft. I don't think that Syncroft is very good, but I also think that Jankos isn't great anymore, which I do think that he was great at one point in his career. I just don't think that's him anymore. Caps is good enough to just hard win mid lane.
Caps is still insanely good.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. And then Flocken and Targamas against X Maddie and Limit. I'm still waiting for G2's bot lane to be the big problem for the team. Isn't Flocken the guy that got dominated in EU Masters in the finals and lost his team? Who is that guy? Who's the guy that was in the finals and lost in the EU Masters finals and got completely shit on, and he was supposed to be super good, but he was garbage, and everybody kind of knew he was garbage in the betting scene. I feel like I was looking at esports department Discord, and they everybody was on.
It's probably Chris. He watches every single.
I can't even think of. Yeah, I can't. No, I mean
he's on one of the major teams now.
I thought it would have been X Maddie was the. I know a lot of people were
Maddie or leader.
A lot of people were doing what's the gif with the dude that's doing the question marks, huh?
Yeah, X Maddie, that one, it just doesn't make any sense to me because he was never even the primary guy on his ERL teams. He was, and maybe that's the whole point is that Nuclear is supposed to be the guy that carries, but the dude is he's the absolute worst ADC I think in all of the major regions except for SamD. But I'd take SamD over him, man.
You really hate Sam D. I love this shtick so much.
Yeah, no, X Maddie was on Carmine Corp, and it was X Maddie. He was on Carmine Corp last year, but it was Saken, it was Syncroft, it was Cabashard, it was Targamas. It was everybody else around him. He wasn't the primary guy. Not in my opinion. I mean, that was a good Carmine Corp team. We're talking
who lost the summer finals of EU Masters? That's basically what I'm asking.
It was Bean. It was Bean from Fnatic.
That guy fucking sucks.
Oh, that's right.
That guy's
That's
horrible.
right.
I mean, this year,
remember
I'm
this series now.
going to tell you something. This Fnatic team now playing in the Super League, they're a fun team to watch. I mean, they put up like 32 kills today against the
but
big
are they
G2
good?
Giants. Yes, they are. They're
Okay.
undefeated right now. They're going to be a team. They're like probably. I mean, the difference was when they were playing in the NLC, it was just them and Nexel, and it was like there were only two teams. Like, could you really gauge how good they were? But in the Super League, like, there's a lot of. I would say that it's right behind the LFL in terms of talent, and they're just running through it, like just speed running it right now. So Bean is going to get his chance at redemption, I think, in spring. But
Mr. Bean.
I think that's what I remember. I think that I remember the flame coming for him in EU Masters, and then he still managed to play at Worlds because of the whole upset thing, and it just was miserable, and everyone knew it was going to be miserable the whole time.
yeah, no, let's see.
Where they are nerfing Aphelios and Jinx probably because hyper carries tend to be a symptom of the meta around them more than the actual characters themselves. A lot, not most of the time, not always. So like, if the game is conducive to playing that way, then just whatever hyper carries are always going to be good. Like it's usually going to be like Jinx Aphelios. Like sometimes it's like Cogmaw or who else am I forgetting? You see Zig sometimes and that kind of thing too. Like whenever hyper carries are going to be good, those are like there's a couple that are naturally going to just go to the top. And a lot of that is a symptom of like the rest of the game more than them being particularly strong, if that makes sense.
A lot of it's that the rest of the map can't punish them hard enough.
Exactly.
Or tanks aren't strong enough. Something like that. Like, and a lot of that comes down to itemization. That's why I'm League of Items. Originally, like I was looking for advantages to like apply to professional games and stuff like that based off of
Gold
items,
efficiency and all
gold
that.
efficiency and all that good stuff. Like I have videos on my channel from like years ago, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, about item efficiency and stuff like that. Where the game is definitely there, people are paying more attention to that now, but a lot of the applications are still pretty shitty. But yeah, that's it.
Where are we at on this game? We've gone all over the place on this.
Yeah.
Nobody's answered the question, so Moose, go ahead and tell us who's going to win this game.
G2.
That's. I mean, I don't think BDS is like. I don't think they're very good. I've said it all year. I think that this team is like a borderline ERL team. And then last week they just kind of had like they played Astralis and SK and they got 2 wins. Congratulations, like that was. But you take those games out, they should have lost to Excel. But like Excel got in their own way. But like the rest of the teams have handled them like the teams that they should. And I think G2 is going to come in, and I don't think they're going to underestimate them. I think they're going to come in and make a point and win. And I just don't. Again, this is just one of those games that I don't know how bloody it's going to be. Like G2 has shown that they play high kill participation, bloody matchups, top to bottom, even Broken Blades getting carry champions. But they could just roll this game pretty quickly.
I think this will be bloody.
Yeah.
I think that BDS, and this might be like narrative driven, but I think that BDS probably thinks that they're good enough to compete with somebody like G2, so they're not going to be afraid of fighting them in the early game.
Feeling themselves after last weekend.
Yeah, and it's funny because both teams had good. Honestly, I think even if this was the first game of the year and nothing else has happened so far, I still think that BDS would convince themselves that they're as good as G2, if not better, and are willing to fight them at every turn. I think that's pretty important.
On my flight, there was no Wi-Fi on the way there, so I had to watch the esports XL gaming special of them trying to make the playoffs from 2 years ago. They had did you guys ever watch that special?
No.
So, it reminds me of like the Twitter account that's like
my God.
before tragic things happen or whatever.
This is when they had Expect and Mickey. And then like they tried so hard to hide the fact that Expect went out every night and just got hammered and came home. And they were like really trying to make it like not seem that like he was just a drunk. But then anyways, the point is that like this exact scenario happened. Excel like won 2 games, and then like by the way, they somehow got Cillian Murphy to fucking like narrate it, but he's like Excel goes into the game. Yeah, I know. And they're like Excel goes into the game. with the best chance they've had to beat G2 coming off 2 straight losses, and then G2 just fucking shit on them, dude. They just destroyed them. All right, like all these fans flew out from the UK. They were all hyped as hell for XL. Like they're screaming in the crowd. They just got rolled, bro. This is exactly what's gonna happen in this spot.
I took the kill spread on BDS here, and it's not an endorsement of BDS as much as it is like I'm still not buying G2 yet.
I think G2 just wants to close games faster. Like they're more disciplined now. Like they're like didn't they have like a 13 kill win or something like last week?
Yeah, it doesn't always mean again like that could be discipline. It could be symptom of meta. I think they looked good last week, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just a little skeptical on them is all.
Look, I love betting the dogs as much as anybody. But we talk about betting dogs that we actually think, are a decent team, and I just don't think that they're a decent team.
I totally see it.
The only reason I am not just railing on them for being like the worst team is because they have SK and Astralis, which are two teams that are just super bad in their own right. BDS is like in a different way. Like I think that this team, it's just not their time right now. I think that this team could develop if, things go right. This could be maybe a playoff team in summer, maybe next year, maybe never. But not this week, not against G2. I'm not betting them plus 200. I might play a little bit in DFS because I do like playing Nuclearant. He's, he's just a high scoring mid laner. And again,
he's a focal point. Yeah.
I do everything that I try not to play X-Matty, but then I try and put in a couple other lineups because I know that a lot of people are doing the same thing. So
yeah,
try not to.
BDS Astralis double dog special. It's taking down 10 grand tomorrow. Is it 10 grand? Yeah, 10 grand. It's taking down 10 grand tomorrow. You're welcome. Whoever does it,
100% something I would play.
I thought it was going to be Excel Astralis. Man, you know what? I think this lines up really well for Googs because he's going to play Astralis. He's already said he's going to one-off White Knight in a lot of lineups. And
I'm definitely playing at least one of those. By the way, like this, yeah. Like
I'm looking at it right now.
There's gonna be like nobody on that. It'll be like us, and that's it. Like this.
Yeah.
Comes in. There's 10%
Let's put 10K
ownership
tomorrow, right? That's
I genuinely cannot believe that this Cillian Murphy thing happened, and I had no idea about it.
That's
swear. Insane.
Had this season. It's a two.
I'm looking at the article right now.
It's a 2 episode.
I'm looking at the article.
It's a 2 episode special. It's 2 hours. Like, okay, it was a 16-hour flight to Dubai. I am out of options. I have covered every movie possible on this goddamn plane. The Wi-Fi's dead. Nothing's working. I'm like, I see this thing and it pops up in the I'm sitting like scrolling through the documentaries. And I'm like, all right, like some shit about penguins, some shit about tigers, some shit about XL Esports. And it's like them trying to fucking make the playoffs. And I was like, okay, so it's the season with Expect and Mickey and Patrick and even before Cries, whoever they had, Tori. And yeah, they get Cillian Murphy to narrate it, which is the best part of it. But the whole organization is just in shambles. Like, Expect doesn't know what the fuck anybody else is saying. Mickey doesn't know what the fuck anybody else is saying. Like, everybody's just yelling at each other in Korean and English. Like, they're trying.
Man, I want to watch this now, man. You've made this sound like it was amazing.
It is an absolute clusterfuck. Like the whole season. And then they brought in that Fabian guy, and he has like a huge accent. So he has a huge accent talking to Mickey, who just sits in the corner like this the whole time when he listens to people. He pays no attention at all. He's just a god, like in mechanics and shit. They somehow won 6 games. Like, I don't even know. Like, I'm just sitting there like, God, this team is so fucking stupid. Like, this is so bad. Anyways, yeah, and then they got Cillian Murphy to narrate it. So
that's hilarious.
Just all right. Well, awesome. A game that I think is going to be highly owned, and I think rightfully so, because it's inclusion of the Mad Lions. Mad Lions comes in as a dog plus 125. I think that might have been a little different if they hadn't choked last weekend, and they may have came in as the favorite because Fnatic did not do a whole lot. Tough competition, so can't hold it against them, but minus 164. We've got an over-under at 27.5. This was last season. This is a smash at like 32. I probably would have taken the over. I still probably will. I don't know where I have it. I'll have to take a glance, but Pico, why don't you go ahead and kick us off here?
Fnatic Mad, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'll do the lane by lane. So Wonder against Armut, I think that Wonder and Armut are pretty similar. That's just going to be draft dependent. Razork against Elyoya. I'm one of the biggest Elyoya haters in the world, but I do think that Elyoya is better than Razork. Humanoid against Reeker. I am the biggest humanoid hater in the world.
But look. Here's the thing about Aloya is like, and ENJ like played it simply. He just said, "Look, the guy fucks," and he does.
He does. He does.
Like that's it, man. Like you play guys that fuck, and you play the guys that score points, and it's him, man. It is when they win.
His play, I think that's a good way to talk about it because his play style is the correct way to play League of Legends for DFS and to be a carry player. It's just people forget. They forget, oh, wait a second. There are other players who also play that play style who are better than him at that play style, and he's not going to be able to compete with them. Because if he was able to pivot into like I'm not saying that Zanzara is good, but like that other type of League of Legends where you're more playing for the rest of your team, you're playing things like Jarvan, you're playing things like Poppy, like that. You need if you can do both, then you can be a superstar. If you can only do one of those, and you're like the scoring style, people are going to think you're good. If you're the Zanzara style, people are going to think you're dog shit. So he's picked the right avenue to get people to like him and think that he's good. Reeker, I don't really have a well-formed opinion on Reeker yet, so I think that I just have to default to saying Humanoid is good enough to diff him, even though I hate Humanoid. I do think he's probably the most overrated player in the West.
But he is good. I can see him being overrated. I'm with you there, but he is very good.
Upset's the same thing. He's like the in the mid lane. You have the control mage players, you have the TF players, you have the control mage, TF. And then you have the guys who can play the assassins and the mechanically intense champions. Humanoid is just the TF guy. Like he's a TF guy. He's sometimes a control mage guy if the other player is definitely going to play control mage, but he is not mechanically good enough to compete with the good mechanical mid laners.
Dude, I wonder why has he just continued to get TF for the last like year and a half?
Because they pay attention to other spots of the draft.
I guess like, so. Like
they probably think he's shit too. That's probably why. They're probably like, this guy sucks. Let him play TF. I don't even give a shit. But then they don't draft around the right way. Like if you consistently played like to the outscaling side of that matchup, then you're probably fine. And then the bot lane, Upset and Hillsong against Unforgiven and Kaiser. I would just give the edge to Fnatic in that one too. So would you rather have the jungle advantage for pressure or the mid lane advantage for pressure? I think that's why it's a pretty close matchup. I would take Fnatic here because I want Mad Lions to lose. So that's
as good a reason as any. I didn't play a side in this one.
I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna bet it, but I think. I mean, do you think that the feelings that you have are shared by a large number of people? Because if that's the case, and people are like heavily on Fnatic here, man, I just want to stack up Mad Lions. Like I love playing these guys at low ownership. It doesn't happen very often, but like it seems like this is one of the spots where it could be. I don't necessarily expect them to win, but I think if they do, like this is going to be a hard fought game back and forth. Like that, if Fnatic wins, I think Fnatic has a higher chance of blowing them out and winning like this like new style that Fnatic plays, like 16-8, not high scoring, a lot more measured. But I think if Mad Lions wins, this could look very similar to what we saw against SK, where this is not a game where they just wipe them. There's a lot of isolated fights. There's a lot of, 3 or 4 people survive, and it's just a high kill game. And so that's from that aspect, I think it's pretty attractive.
For what it's worth, if you take out that SK game, this is the biggest edge on a total I've seen in the West all year to the under. So,
I think the under. If just from a gut perspective, I would say under because, like, you have to think which team do you think is more likely to win the early game? I'd say is probably Mad Lions. If Mad Lions gets the advantage against Fnatic, I think Fnatic's more likely to play the "Don't worry, guys, we scale. We'll beat them at the 30-minute mark in a 1 Baron fight, and we'll win the entire game." They're the team that will do that.
Yeah, it's not the same Fnatic. Some of the same players, not the same Fnatic. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I have it projected in a win under on one side and over on the other. So
yeah, it's just that weird game is like throwing so much shit off.
I took that off. I don't even consider that game when I'm looking at things. I mean, I consider the fact that they gave up. I don't consider how many kills they got. I do consider how many kills they gave up, if that makes sense.
No, I follow you.
Like instead of that, I mean that's a loss, but like it just goes to show kind of. I don't know. I mean, it's the Mad Lions. It's not like it's out of character for them. I think it kind of just fits a narrative of who they are and who they always will be forever.
What are they? They're like 23.25 in wins. Fnatic are much lower. They're like, what, 20, 23 and change? Yeah.
I don't. I just think there's way more situations where this comes out under. Like I said, this is big. I'm gonna completely fade this matchup. It's a little I guess strong stance for this one, but in bigger fields, I'm not touching this one because I think people are gonna have one side of this all over the place. I think people are gonna be. I think they're just gonna stack this with Rogue any way they can, right? Mad,
Yeah.
like we already talked about earlier. Mad Rogue's gonna be like.
Hey Moose, can you move your like mic out a little bit?
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I'm overweight. So,
Well, I mean, you're blowing right into it.
so Matt, sorry, yeah, no, you muted me. Are Mad Lions supposed to be a good team?
That's a great question, Matt. That's a great question, Russian Bear.
Like,
Some would say no.
are they a good team? Like,
I think they're good, not
what is
great.
what is their notable win this year? Is it Vitality in their first game or G2? Like,
Eh. I mean,
Not getting an argument for me.
I mean the week one Vitality, like it's week one. Yeah, they haven't really played. They got their shit kicked in by Rogue.
the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's the win against Vitality. It's the fashion in which they did, but obviously that doesn't look as good after the next two losses that they had. But they thoroughly handled G2. I guess you could buy into the narrative that those guys were sick, that they had COVID, and as a result, that maybe this team, maybe they're not good. It's not going to stop me from playing them in DFS though.
Yeah, I
to each their own.
was just looking through the combinations you can get. If I'm playing anybody from this, it's Fnatic as my primary stack with Rogue secondary stacks with Jungle Captain. But then if you look
You
at
fit that?
Fnatic, yeah, if only a couple. There's a couple combos of it. And then if you look at Fnatic with Vitality, there are a ton of combinations. Fnatic Vitality, that's probably not going to be the most popular tomorrow. That's a great spot. Like if Vitality wins and Fnatic wins, I think that those lineups are going to be tough to beat.
Those are two ifs.
But
I don't know if they're that
stick
big
around.
of
I can
an
get,
if,
I can
though.
get 5 ifs into one sentence if I try hard enough.
Are they really that big? I don't think that's a big if. It's not that crazy.
I mean, after looking at the rest of these matchups, I kind of don't have a problem with Vitality at all. But I think Misfits are definitely a live dog then. So
Yeah, I think in general I prefer when I pick a favorite that has a live dog because I feel like they're going to fight more. In general, if you look at good DraftKings performances, you kind of need the losing team to have the mentality that they can win the game. If they're drafting from a perspective of, oh, we need to scale, fight them maybe once the entire game, and then just hope we can win that coin flip, then you're not looking good. But if it's like if it's two teams that think that they can compete with one another from a mechanical perspective, and the drafts are both drafted towards like fighting early on, then you're going to get an explosive game. Or if you have the mismatch in 80 carry, like I said before.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys ever like stack players with their old team? Why is like,
Yeah.
like
I do.
like you throw like perks and like caps together. It's like you get to play again, like right here.
Yes.
With this. I do it all the time. I used to do it a lot with Licorice last year in the LCS too. So
Sad but true.
oh god.
Things I would not like to admit out loud.
I play it all the time. Like it is one of the things that I like to do. But I guess
I don't blame you.
You should ask Ian what he's playing because he's already got a 70 lineup. So
Alon.
I'll ask him. Just straight up, be like, "Yo, what are you playing?"
I mean, you could ask Nathan too. They just have the same lineup. I just don't understand. Like,
Here we go. I'm doing this in the chat for everyone to see.
All right, so let's see. We're going Astralis. We're going Vitality. We're going to throw Rogue in there. We think G2 wins, and then we're saying Fnatic. All right.
Oh, wow. Ugh. I'm sick to my stomach.
It's the show parlay. All right.
Ugh. The DGen special over here. Pick, the parlay of the week.
Oh,
Shout
man.
out to
I have been getting just absolutely destroyed in parlays, and like I know not to, but like it's been bad, man.
The kid stop.
Aren't you net positive though in parlays?
Probably, yeah. But I mean, like if you look at like these, like where was it? Like LFL parlays, just not. I mean, they're all small bets. I mean, as long as I hit one, I mean, even this.
See how much they let you get down on those? Like nothing.
No, I have like a 500 limit.
Seriously,
I mean,
shit.
It depends. Like it depends on what the payout is. Like if it's
start pulling data for that shit, man.
If it's like a big dog, like it's not so much how much you can put down; it's how much they're willing to lose in certain games. I guess is what it comes down to. But
yeah, a lot of places will limit based on like max win instead of. That's funny though.
I mean, just as an example, we can go to this, and if we go to Prime League, say this, it's 1,500 on that one. That's the largest I've ever seen them do it.
Oh, damn.
It's usually like 5. Yeah, see, it's like usually like 5.
Makes sense.
But all right, so we do have. I mean, look, we have a show tomorrow. Guggs is probably going to be on. He's not going to be wearing a shirt. He's going to be eating something crazy.
No, not again.
It's going to be one of those things. Thankfully, Moose is here to co-host it with me because sometimes it's a lot. It's a lot. But I told him that he needs to step it up, and maybe he does it from the shower. I don't know. But we do have the return of the LCS. Not that we haven't had LCS. We've had the lock-in, but we've got some of these full lineups coming out. And let's just take a look at, what's happening on Saturday. Maybe a little less in-depth because we don't have to talk about it from a full DFS standpoint. But we open it up at 4:30 on Saturday, Eastern Standard Time. We've got Team Solo Mid against, a show favorite, Evil Geniuses, even though they kind of fumbled it for us. They sold out and got 3-0'd. But in this game, right now we don't have totals, but minus 385, plus 265 Team TSM. Where are we at? Michael, you want to kick it off?
This is a spot where I love Evil Geniuses. I can't pick against them. I would not bet it at minus 385 ever, not even if there was a fire. TSM, do we know what their roster is going to be?
I think they're playing the full. I think what's called the two LDL imports were in Kaiduo and Shenyi were streaming, so I'm pretty sure they're here. That doesn't. By the way, people, that doesn't necessarily mean they're playing.
Yeah.
Because like if they just got here and they started streaming, that might not mean that they've been screwing with the team. But
yeah, but I mean,
all right, let's operate under the assumption that they are.
They're not running that academy team out again.
That academy team
is so bad. It's so bad.
Woo!
It's even bad for an academy team, man. Like it sucks that they had to play against teams that are so much better than them and look bad. But then they went into academy and they look bad.
Yeah. I think that TSM is definitely good enough I think that TSM is going to be good enough from a talent perspective to pull off this upset. I think that I would prefer Evil Geniuses wins this match. And then the next time that they play each other, I would probably just pick TSM no matter what from getting a live dog.
I think right now you're like EG have been playing together since beginning of December. Like that's a huge advantage for them. And You're basically betting on TSM clicking immediately with these guys. Like that's what you're betting on here. Like,
I mean, EG has shown the ability to draft like shit. So I mean,
that's true.
It's a best of one. It's larger than 250. I think it's a competent team. I'm going to place a wager on TSM. I'm not going to feel good about it, but I mean, it's again, if it's 250, it's a competent team. Evil Geniuses had this aura of invincibility that was just absolutely shattered, albeit by a good team. But again, you're right. Like, what if they draft Orn, Poppy, Jin, TF with Lulu or something?
Dude, this could also just be okay, these are just talented prospects from China. and they just gap everybody when they get here. Like, I mean, I'll say this: like, I didn't do like a super duper deep dive on these guys, but I probably watched like, I don't know, half a dozen games for each of them, and then also the series that Shenyi played last season for FPX.
He fucked.
And yeah, Shenyi is like
Shenyi
a spiritual
fucks.
successor to Sword Art, dude. Like he's not very nuanced sometimes, but like, yeah, he fucks.
Wasn't
like,
that the LWX All-Star game?
Yeah.
Oh god,
Wow.
bro, fuck.
He gets in there.
look-
Sometimes to a fault.
Well,
Like sometimes he just tries to bulldoze fights. It's like, we're just here. He's like bull in a china shop kind of situation. But I honestly, dude, that might just be a thing in North America. Like if he just is so aggressive,
I love
and
that.
everyone here is not. It could, yeah, like he could just look really, really good. Kaido is more of like his team, Thundertalk Academy, they played kind of side lane centric. At least from the games I watched, I saw like one game where they played around him and it did not go well. But it's just like, again, like a brief look at through the numbers and everything, which doesn't always tell the full story. But it looks like when he's this focal point, it's not great. But he plays like a lot of the global stuff, TF, Galio. He likes to get around the map and help his team play. TF and Riser is most played, and they played through side lanes. So like, if that's what the identity of this team, which actually makes sense given the players on it, right?
Yeah, that'd be really.
If that's
good for
going to be their
Tactical.
identity, that's what they would want, right? So, I mean, the other thing with that kind of strategy though is like you need good communication, which might not be there right away.
I think it is.
So-
I think it is. I
We'll
think it will
see.
instantly be there. Supposedly, 4 out of 5 of them speak Chinese, right?
Yeah, speak
Doesn't-
is fluent, I think, right?
Yeah, and then I don't know if Lost does or not, but if you have like a humanoid style mid laner in this team with Tactical and Huni, I think that's exactly what you want. Like you don't.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want.
Wait, Lost is
I like the way
Australia.
this team's. I do like the way this team's built. It's just a matter of like, are they going to come together right away? I think there's a
Yeah.
good chance that they do. So, this to me, this would be like a TSM or nothing. I do think
Yeah.
they have a chance to win this one.
I agree with that.
I think they are an attractive at like what was it plus 1,200 for the split. I thought that was you know, throw a
That
little
was like
bit
the
at
only future I even considered because I do think the talent's there. I know people like to hate on Huni, but like
Oh yeah,
Right.
so it's overblown.
it's way overblown. He's
Can we-
he's a good player. Like
I think
Can we
this is
look at
going to
those
be
futures numbers real quick?
good. This is going to be a great one for DFS. I think TSM's going to be. Super,
I think
super
TSM are
good.
going to be a good DFS team, and if you're on that early, like just the if you just strictly look at like their thought process, like their philosophy in constructing this roster, they're going to play up tempo. They're going to play side lane kind of shit. They're going to be starting fights all the time. That's what I like when I looked at it. That's what I see. That doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's going to play out. But I think
Yeah, I mean, they could come to NA like a lot of people and just like, hey, like we don't need to do anything. We can
you
just
just
chill.
lane
Like,
phase and chill, dude.
yeah,
That's-
yeah, we just- yeah. It'll be 1-1, 45 minutes in. We've got 10 dragons, like that one game in the LCK. It was just.
I'm 100% going to have some TSM. Like I'm going to have a lot of TSM on the first DFS slate for this.
Yeah, no, I think
I
it's
don't
a-
even care what the price is. Like
How is Cloud9 plus 175?
Because they didn't play with their roster, the whole thing.
How can I bet against that?
what do you mean?
I want action against that.
You can fade. I mean, I'll
No,
tell you what I'm doing.
I want somebody who's high on C9 to bet me specifically that they think C9 will win, and I want that money.
Let me ask you, Mike, because like I'll ask all of you because I kind of have this thought process. Like I think by the end of spring, there's a reasonable chance that the standings do look like this, or not necessarily the standings, but like the level of the teams. I think by the end of the split, I don't think it's going to be that way right away. Like I'm fading the shit out of Cloud9 for the first couple weeks.
Yeah, I think.
Like,
Go ahead, keep going.
no, I mean that like do you guys see the same like do you think by the end of the season this ends up looking vaguely like this, like not the literal standings but like your power, like your grade of the teams by the end of the spring split?
Well,
Like,
see,
if it all comes, assume the
I
best
don't-
for each one.
Does LS make it to the end of the season?
Assume the
Oh,
best
yeah.
case for each.
I mean, I think he does, but I mean, I don't know, man. Like this Cloud, like even their academy team is drafting the same way that they drafted in Lock-in. Like they're playing Udyr. It just doesn't make sense. And
Can you
Udyr
imagine?
seems like the actual worst thing in the game to play right now. Maybe I'm
Like
wrong.
I just watched them get like rolled 2-0 by Golden Guardians. As a matter of fact,
Yeah, you have a meta game that's all about long range hyper carries and protecting those. Like he seems like the actual worst thing in the universe.
they've drafted
situation.
they've just drafted like I'm not somebody that's going to say every game's like over like but I've seen more Cloud9 drafts that are just like over. Like, and I don't know, like, yeah, they have more talent, maybe.
The meme's writing
arguably,
itself. The
but
meme
like,
is writing itself.
Here's the other thing: is like we just all like saw like Fudge like play so badly last lock-in, and then come back and be a very good, top laner.
Yeah.
And now we see him not play very well in mid lane, but I guess we're giving him the benefit of the doubt when I don't necessarily know if he has the track record that necessitates that. Like he could end up being just a bad mid. Like he might be like a top laner. That might be what he is. He's just a really good top laner.
Here's the thing with this for me, and I don't know if you guys agree with this one either. I think Summit is insanely good, and he's just been on kind of a bad team for a little while. And I think there's a chance that this is like an Alfari situation again, where he just comes in, he's like the best player in the league. But again, it's with any import, you just don't know until you see it, right? Like some people are good, it just takes them a little while to get comfortable. Some people never do get comfortable. So like, I think if you're looking at Cloud9 strictly like everything pans out, yeah, Cloud9 are going to be an extremely good team, but I think it's a tough ask for that to happen immediately with so many moving pieces. So,
well, here you're asking them to win best of 5 soon, not just the best of 1s. And
Yeah.
like, I just think that draft, their drafting is going to be questionable over a best of 5.
Who else is coming in other than Summit?
Berserker is a T1 Academy player.
Oh yeah. He was behind like Faker for some time.
Berserker's playing. He's going to be playing 80 carry. He's really good. Like the only thing he did wrong was be behind Teddy and Gumayusi. Like that's literally like all he did wrong. Like he could be a starter on some LCK teams. So I think there's a chance that these two guys come in and they're just insanely good. Like kind of like the LDL guys too. But again, you have the import thing. You have the I think the cool thing about LS. Winsome too. I don't know. I don't really know shit about him. I tried to find some film on him and I just couldn't do it. So I don't really know much about him.
He wins some.
Yeah, he wins some. Maybe not. Yeah, the meme. Yeah, we'll see. This team.
We might just to answer this question on the stream. Might do some COD content. If you go to the esports department Discord, there is a COD channel. I have not paid attention to it as much. We've got some people in there that are doing it, or at least talking about it. So that might be something that we add to a Thursday show. I might get some people that watch it a little closer. It'll be on my TV tomorrow. I'll be maxing the contests. They're small, but whatever.
So I didn't really give any take on that. I think that it's unlikely that Team Liquid and 100 Thieves are surprisingly good. I think that C9 and TSM could be surprisingly good. I think that EG could be surprisingly good. Like
the rest
Team
of the
Liquid
field looks terrible. Like that's.
Yeah. So I mean, I was kind of interested in Dig before they even started looking okay in the lock-in tournament because
It looks pretty good.
Yeah, River's a legit player.
River's
so
very good.
When you bring in a good player into an ecosystem that doesn't have good players or as many good players as like other regions, then you're going to look good. You're going to win games. People are going to be surprised. And then like Fake God is a pretty good player. Blue is okay. Neo and Biofrost I think are the part that people are underrating the most because Neo had a lot of really good performances, like real true carry performances. When like Kai'Sa was super busted, right? In like 2020, and then Biofrost didn't step away from the game because he was bad. He stepped away from the game because he couldn't be on a team that was up to his level, that wanted him. So I think that they have an outside shot at being competitive, but I don't expect them to compete. For a title.
Does this look like the LCS to me looks like it could legitimately just be 2 tiers? Like it's like the haves and have-nots. Like I think the top 5 look like they're going to be competing. Like pick and choose however you want, but like I think the top 5 look like good teams, the bottom 5 look like not good teams. But I'm with you. I think if you have to pick from the rest, I don't hate Golden Guardians either. But like again, it's an import thing. Like Pride Stalker's got to step up. Like if that's going to happen.
Yeah. When I did my rankings, I think that I only put I only gave 2 teams F grades because I don't think they have any chance now, and I don't think they have any chance in the future, to do anything. And that was Golden Guardians and FlyQuest, and then Immortals joined them because Immortals.
What the hell happened, man? What the hell was that?
It was so bad. But I mean,
dude, I am very much for giving people the benefit of the doubt. Like, if it's an off-season, who gives a shit, right? Like, it's the lock-in, who gives a shit? Literally has no bearing on anything, right?
Yeah.
But that was exceptionally bad.
Yeah. My opinion of them went from wherever they were to an F right when they said that they were going to build around revenge. That is the most ridiculous idea that I've heard come out of an esports organization ever. They said, we're going to build a team around revenge, and we're going to do that by giving Wild Turtle a job.
Here's the other thing. Do you agree Insanity was the best player on that team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you letting him walk? What's going on here, guys?
Yeah.
Because PoE, right?
I mean, I do like Powered People.
I do too. But
the one, and then
could one of them just play AD carry?
That's what I was gonna say.
Exactly.
Is I think that
just have a G2 situation,
just go play Syndra in the bottom lane.
It's an easy transition to make.
AD carry is just farm until 2.5 items anyway.
I think that's one of the things about C9 that's very interesting. LS historically has taken my ideas and put them into practice, and he can do it and I can't because he's a professional coach now. I bet that C9 flexes Fudge and Summit throughout the year. Matchup dependent. And I think that's the way that professional League of Legends should be played, and it will be played like that in the future.
Agreed.
But
we've seen some of that already. We saw a lot of it last season, but I'm with you. I think we're going to see a lot of that. Maybe not in this specific meta game, but there's no way this is going to hang around forever.
Yeah, you need players who grow up in a system that allows them to flex between roles, and they're not oh, I was supposed to be the mid laner today, but now they put me in top lane. My brain hurts. There's too much of that right now. So
why get rid of Raze?
I know. Yeah, it was weird.
Raze was good too.
Why get rid of
Wild
Raze
Turtle versus Raze?
Dude,
yeah. Wild Turtle versus Raze. If you're a team,
because they're building around revenge, guys.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to get back into that.
What does that mean?
I don't. There was maybe one game that I saw last year, summer and spring, that was oh wow, this guy's pretty good, but it was never this guy's pretty good. It was oh, he's having a good game. I think he won me. I think I won 10K.
I think he's fine, but he's not a guy you build a team around.
He's not in a position I don't know.
It's just weird. I wonder if there was some shit going on behind the scenes, players just didn't like each other or something.
When Immortals said that they were going to build around revenge, they didn't mean the player. They meant that they hated their fans, and they were going to take revenge on their fans by getting Wild Turtle.
They could have
the weirdest.
They could have signed anybody else. They could have gotten Apollo back, and it would have been better.
Weirder off season. This or the week 1 move with or the week 2 move with Excel. How they handled that.
This is much worse.
This is worse. Yeah.
Yeah,
that one at least they're delusional and they got a good player.
yeah, that one I almost can't fault them for that because it's okay, you could be optimistic. You could be optimistic. You could be optimistic about Advian all you want, but Mickey's a player.
Maybe their mentality is that maybe they're not good enough right now, but we can make an offseason signing and get another good player, and then we'll be the best.
But I think part of that situation that makes it worse is not just okay, so I don't everybody's yeah, you got Mickey X, but it's how you brought Advian in summer in the middle of the split because you were so bad, and they breathed life into you. You felt good, and then you just did them so dirty that in the middle of a split where at the beginning of a split basically has no opportunity to go anywhere else or not a realistic one. And that's just terrible. At least Immortals are tanking from the beginning,
Yeah, I don't know.
No, something probably happened. The kid probably lost his shit or something.
No, so I don't know. Did you guys read the? I can't remember the website that did it, but they did an interview with the general manager. I forget the guy's name, and he said it was a full staff decision. The coaches were in on it. It wasn't just the manager saying, "Oh, this is a star player, money, 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 money." Right? It wasn't like that, but. And he was like, he was cognizant of the situation. He's like, it was a difficult decision to make or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It was just weird. The timing of it was weird. Like the timing of it made me think almost that like they couldn't afford what Mickey was asking, and maybe another deal that Mickey had with a different team fell through or something. That's the only way this kind of thing happens, right? It didn't get sorted out before the season started. Like maybe he was holding out for a big deal, didn't get one. He's like, okay, I'll take this one, but I don't know. It was still weird how they handled the whole thing. But
Yeah.
Anyway, we keep getting off on these crazy tangents.
Sorry about that.
Right.
But that was necessary. I haven't looked at the futures yet, and that was actually kind of shocking. So
yeah,
Wait, so
TSM are the only one I'm really interested in.
I still like Evil Geniuses at that number.
I could see it. I don't hate that either. Like I'm not gonna do it, but I could see the case for that. I like EG a lot too. I think these five. I think like any of the top five, it's anyone's ball game.
So who are FlyQuest building around?
They're not.
They're just not.
Good question.
Who are
Yeah.
Golden
Tune in next
Guardians
time.
building around?
They're not doing that. Whatever you're talking about, building. What does that even mean? I
What's
think
the family
they're
feud?
probably-
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They probably think that they're building around Takui. I think that's what they would say, is that we think that that Takui could be the best mid laner in the LCS in a couple years. But they don't know about the 15 and 16-year-olds that are out there who are just going to be much better than him. Like that's my problem. I don't know.
You know what my
Maybe
problem
he's good.
is that
he looked okay at points, but that's about it.
I
My-
thought they were better than I thought they were going to be in lock-in, but it's lock-in, so who cares? Like,
my problem is like when everybody tries to tell me Jose Dioto is good. Like everybody
Yes.
in Discord, they're like,
Oh
"Oh no,
my
he's good,
God.
he's good,
Right.
he's good, he's not."
Okay.
No, you're right. FlyQuest is pretty bad, but like Jose Dioto, he's pretty good. I mean, like Prime says
People-
it. So many people say it. I'm
People
just throwing
conflate
out there
good
on
and
Prime.
great,
I don't mean to
dude.
throw you under it, but like he's not good. He's never been good, and he's never gonna be.
he
Good.
took a step up, and anytime you have a player that's taking a step up in competition, you can be super optimistic about a player, right? But anytime they're taking a step up in competition, there's just some people just don't make it. Some people can't make the translation, right? Arya, that was my biggest question this offseason in the LCK, right? Like, is he going to be able to take that step up in competition? He's done okay so far. He's gotten bodied in a couple games, but he's like mostly looked all right.
I think Arya's
Jose
doing
took a
good.
huge step up in competition. Like, it's the same kind of thing. Like, look, the
Well,
Latin
it's not only
American
that.
servers are just not that competitive. Like, those leagues
Yeah.
are just not that competitive. So
I think that the point that you're trying to make kind of goes back to what I said before about El Yoya. Jose Dioto was the perfect type of jungler in the 2020 meta to get himself paid, because he was a carry style jungler, played Hecarim, played Lee Sin, played Graves,
looked
really good because you were allowed to dominate the game. And then people are like, oh well, this guy's such a great jungler. It's like, no, he's a carry jungler in a carry meta. That
I
doesn't
think
mean
self-made
anything.
is the same thing, dude.
I don't even think he looked
No,
good though.
El
Maybe
Yoya
not
is
to
good.
the same extent. Like, I'm
just saying,
self-made's way better.
Jose Dioto did not look good. I mean, you're right. Like he's okay. He's taking a step into up. You can take a shot on those guys, but like you took a shot on him and you sent him back to academy. You sent him down to academy
Yeah, so
where he
why
did
is he
really
still
well.
there?
You know, like,
I'm with you.
it's-
Like, you took. I like taking the shot. Like, I actually am all for looking at these smaller leagues for talent. Like, sometimes the shark in a pond can take the step up and they're still a shark and they can hang, right? But
Like that's River.
yeah,
Well,
like
but I mean-
River's really good. Like, I also think the PCS is probably on par or better than the
it's
LCS.
a little better than
And it's
LLS.
and it's because River can play every style. River is
Yeah,
not a
River's
one-trick
good.
pony.
River's very good.
Well, look, speaking of somebody taking a step up in competition, a shark, even a favorite of the show, playing FlyQuest as a dog. We've got CLG with Luger, and just the absolute ideal meta for him. It's just you just have to hope Pal Fox and Contracts, my boy, they just don't fuck it up for him. But I heavily favor CLG in this game. Like just getting plus odds on it is just absolutely insane to me. Not like that I think that they should be heavily favored either, but I think that this should probably be like a minus
It's a coin
105. Yeah,
It's
I mean,
a coin flip. Take the
but
plus.
still,
money.
I mean, yeah, I'm taking the plus money. I'm taking the better every position. Gonna play a ton in DFS and
I
lose a
dig
ton
it.
of money on it.
I'm with that.
I agree
TSM
with that.
CLG double dogs. Let's go.
I like CLG a lot
Yep.
in this match.
All right.
We're in there. Double dog. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna run two parlay legs here. We're not gonna just do the TSM. It'll be like I'm gonna do it.
Don't
without
put
it,
Cloud9 in there, dude. Don't do it. Don't
Do
do
it.
it. Don't
it.
do it. It's bad. You're
Well, we're
making
not
me
there
sick.
yet. We got Team Liquid and 100 Thieves. Liquid coming off their lock-in win. Bjergsen, looked a lot better in that last series, but he got rocked in Academy. Didn't look so well in the earlier parts of the tournament, but then 100 Thieves just get absolutely shocked and dropped by Dignitas. Where we feeling here? Gelati, you go ahead. You kick this one off for us.
So the instinct for a lot of people in a situation like this is like Liquid just completely dominated and 3-0'd like an EG team that looked unstoppable. Oh my God, they're unbeatable. They have to be so good. Oh my God, it was locking. It happened last week, guys. It happened last week. The week before that, everyone was saying 100 Thieves is going to win this tournament. Everybody chill out. Just take the dog here. I think there's going to be a lot of these situations between these top teams where until someone clearly differentiates themselves from the other, I'm probably just going to be taking the dog over and over again in best of 1. I think in a best of 5, I actually would probably like Liquid just because, like, I mentioned it in the Discord, but, like, I kind of think they're just a pain in the ass to draft against, and that's going to screw a lot of teams up. But in a best of 1 like this, just take plus 135 on any of these top 5 teams. I think just take the dog until we see otherwise.
All right.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're
good.
back.
I tried logging in so I could chat back at Kevin because Big Kev said that Selfmade is more overrated than Elyoya. Wild take. In this matchup, I completely agree with everything that Gelati said about taking the underdog. But I think at the same time, we should go lane by lane. So Bwipo against Someday, I think that Bwipo is just a better player. Santorin against Closer. Closer's just a better player. Abadage against Bjergsen. I think that that's mostly going to come down to draft. And then Hans Sama.
Quirky as you, dude.
Hans Sama. I think that Hans Sama is just a straight up better player than FBI. But I think FBI Huhi might be stronger than Hans Sama and Isla.
I can see that.
So where do we think the draft is going to go for this? If it's trading hard carries, I'd probably prefer 100 Thieves.
I just think like all these teams are good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, if I was just trying to pick a side, it's tough for me to definitely feel definitive on one side or the other. With the money line involved, I think that the 100 Thieves are definitely the right side.
Yeah. You're just trying to figure out how it's going to play out, like game script wise, right?
Yeah.
I would caution people just while he's thinking this through, like, don't put too much stock into what we saw in lock-in.
Yeah.
Like, even the bit, like, look, we just shit talked Immortals a lot, but like, I could easily see Immortals like, okay, like that was just maybe they weren't practicing, I don't know, like, and they show up and they just look okay. Like, I could see that happening. So
No, I don't see that happening.
I mean, look, there were a lot of red flags, but just play this opening week at half weight. Just trust me. Like, don't go too ham on this opening week. It's not worth it. You just don't know what you're dealing with yet.
Yeah, that's true.
This is where most of the advantages are.
That's true.
Be a man of conviction.
I mean,
Western style.
I played some positions. I did. I played Golden Guardians in the next match.
Man, I can't believe we're gonna stack that in. We are up to plus 8,000.
Yeah, we can't take those kind of odds.
Bullshit, you can't.
Golden Guardians.
Do the kill spread then. Don't do the money line.
Golden Guardians are not winning that game.
Dude, there is a very realistic.
I mean, yeah, if it's the LCS,
just like what the hell's going on, because it's like they've been practicing for a week.
No, like LCS is literally just League of Clown Fiesta. Like,
also that. Also in a game where people are just playing handshaking, scaling, it's just a coin flip late game. You lose one fight, you make one mistake. You're telling me these teams are going to play perfect, top to bottom, with a brand new roster? No, there's going to be mistakes. That's why I'm saying it, man. Like,
that Dignitas line is way too low. Honestly, that should be probably higher.
Oh yeah, I made them bigger favorites than that. I think I played Dignitas straight up. Let me
They're like
look.
minus 200, I think. Yeah,
What did
should
I
be a
play?
fun opening day.
I played 100 Thieves, and I played Golden Guardians on both days.
What I don't understand is why did they not put Liquid against TSM on opening day?
Oh, dude,
Like,
why do they always put the worst match last in the schedule?
because nobody watches.
Why is the Sunday night game is always the worst? You ever notice that? The last game on Sunday is always just the worst matchup.
Because
It
nobody
happens, like an
watches
inordinate
it.
amount of times.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna watch it. Everyone's already gone to dinner, like doing something, and yeah,
It's like not even football season. Like, get your shit together. Like, come on. Like, and you're done before
nobody
like
watched.
primetime television comes on. You could definitely put like your feature
No,
matches. Keep people
nobody
tuned
watched that
in
game.
for the final game. You get people leaving it on, right? I mean, we're all gonna watch the games, but like, you get a lot more casual people watching the whole thing if the good game was last or second to last or something like that. I don't know.
Gelati, even the people in the audience don't stay for that game.
Listen, I'm not.
Yeah,
a
you know, I
marketing
mean,
expert.
look,
I'm not a marketing expert, so maybe I don't know shit.
Look. I mean, I watch it, but it is very telling that, like, you know, there's a lot of activity in the Discord, and then like after 2 games or
It
like
just dies.
yeah, it's just done. Like on Sunday nights or Saturday nights, like if a big favorite loses, and like a lot of like you can tell when everybody's lineups just like die.
Yeah.
True.
It's like a sentient being, the collective hive mind.
Yeah, but I mean, Kevin's right.
Yeah,
they do it
that's
to
a
get
good
the
point.
viewers.
That's a good point.
That's why it's the first game. So I mean, it's late there. They're
See?
able to watch it. And,
See, I'm a marketing moron. That's why. There we go. It makes sense.
Mm.
All right. Well, that kind of covers that. So kind of, you know, recap, closing statements. I think. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can cover Dignitas Immortals and Cloud9 Gold Guardians. We kind of did, but Dignitas Immortals, I think I have a feeling that everybody's on the side of Dignitas, not even necessarily, you know, betting it at minus 170, but based
I
off
cannot,
of
in
what we saw,
good conscience, tell people to bet money on Immortals ever.
But
they're building around revenge.
you can take.
I'm going to take revenge on my money. I'm going to bet it on
You can-
Immortals.
You can take your $15, your 15 hard-earned dollars, and enter the 10K shock blast with a revenge captain. Just make sure revenge in the lineup because they're building around him, right?
Look, you could just go Wild Turtle.
You
Wild
could.
Turtle captains.
Are we
You
wilding out?
could do something like that.
What is
I
that?
mean, he on that first LCS lock-in slate, he was the chalk. He was the absolute chalk, like 75% owned.
I am the chalk. That's a sound.
Play
That's a
Wild
sound
Turtle
clip. That's a sound clip.
I am the chalk.
But kind of closing statements, just final thoughts, both these slates, DFS, whatever you want to say, just randomness. Moose, you go first.
Are Mad Lions a good team? Find out tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Pacific.
I think this is going to be kind of your tagline for the LEC, just kind of like, you know, it used to be for the LPL. Like it was whenever you're thinking about IG, you just have to say, like, is this team good?
Yeah, yeah, they're not. They're not good.
They're not this year. Maybe they weren't last year, but you at least had to ask the question last year.
It's a rough hang with them this year.
Zlati, go ahead.
Did we even talk about the second day of Europe?
No.
No, we'll do that tomorrow, I guess. You guys are going to do that tomorrow, I guess.
There's only
I would
so
say
many hours. There's only so
I would
many
say
hours.
just take it easy the first week or two. Get some level of confirmation on these teams. Unless you just have a skull, like you're planting your flag early, there's no need to rush into this, right? Like, yeah, you're going to lose some. Oh man, I missed out on a chance. Like it's that FOMO element. Like it doesn't matter. Like if you're wrong, you're going to lose a lot more than if you didn't have anything in the middle, right? So wait for a little bit, see what you got, see if these teams are clicking right away, and then you can fire on it. So I would keep your staking minimal, at least for the betting side of things, for the first couple of weeks until you know what's up. I do think there's a lot of edges to be had in DFS though. If you're gonna plant flags, I think that's the way to do it. So
Yeah.
And chill. Patreon.com/LOL.
So I would say I've got Vitality, Astralis, Rogue, BDS, Fnatic. Those aren't the sides I'm picking, but those are the sides that I want the most action on between betting and DFS. I think that, like we said before, Rogue is going to be one of the most highly owned teams tomorrow. I don't want them as much as I want Vitality, Fnatic stacks. I think that the easy one to get into your lineup is the Rogue Mad Lions one. The one that you actually want is Vitality, Fnatic. So I think that's the last piece of advice I would give for tomorrow.
No, Kev, we get a lot of league talk done with Gugs. I mean, we talk about Astralis and SK. We talked about that game for like at least 45 minutes. It seemed like we went back to it over and over and over, and we'll probably talk about those two teams tomorrow. Look, my final thoughts, basically G2 is going to break the slate. I'm going to have a ton of G2. That's what I'm going to play. I've just decided that. I feel like they're going to go on their own. And if I feel otherwise, I'm not going to play G2. But don't talk me out of it. I feel like people talk me out of stuff all the time. We're playing G2 and we're playing CLG. Don't listen to Vince. Just go all in, fucking parlay those two together. Just you'll have twice as much money to bet the next week if you win all your bets this week. That's it.
That's a scientific fact.
It's true. All right. So, yeah, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30, hangout stream. Gugs is maybe going to eat like a large pizza in 7 minutes with hot sauce on it. His shirt won't be on.
I just
Maybe
want to
we'll take
update
some tests.
on the DK Chronicles. I want the DK Chronicles update. The DraftKings responses from the
DK drunk intern. We need drunk intern.
It's the guy that just keeps copy pasting the same response.
Look, and I don't blame him because I had that run and I was like, hey, are you guys going to run any like academy slates? And they're like, oh, yeah, no, I can assure you we're going to run LCK, CBLOL. And this, I was like, well, you're not going to run LCK because that's part of why I asked is that they're going to be on break. And he's like, no, I just asked somebody. We're definitely going to run LCK. I'm like, you're definitely not. Like, this isn't going anywhere.
Like sources, trust me, bro. We're running it.
So, can we give a shout out to Gugs?
Yeah, shout him out.
Shout out to Gugs.
He was here earlier. He said he had no shirt on. He's probably going to post a Discord picture in a little bit with his shirt off. And, you know, I don't know. I don't understand how my life has led me here. And that is what my Friday nights look like these days. But, hey, I'm here for it. Whatever. I also didn't think I would have like 5 screens of, you know, League of Legends minor leagues on today at any point in my life. But, you know, here we are. This is where we at. So
look at us.
Exactly. That's so fitting. But all right. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for everybody watching. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed on Pikel's channel, go do that as well. And if you're not subscribed to Gelati's Patreon, go do that. That is, you know, the code EMK. And then, you know, if you want a bored ape, go buy one of Moose's. I'll talk to you later.